everyone, it's Sarah, and today I am back with part 2 of dupe fragrances for my unicorns. So this is going to be dupes for the fragrances that were in my unicorns video part 2, if that makes sense. So anyways, I'm going to jump right in. I think I found more for these ones than I did my first one. I think there's only 1 or 2 fragrances that I was not able to find a dupe for. So we're gonna start with Burberry, just the original Burberry for women, the EDP formulation. It has been reformulated, so you can most certainly buy the newest formulation. And it's funny because somebody sent me a pretty big bottle of the new formulation, and now that it has been sitting for several years, it's really starting to smell just like the original. So my issue with the new formulation was there was just too much peach in it for me, and I usually don't enjoy peach in a fragrance. And so because it was just too peach forward, I really didn't like it. But Burberry has always had a dupe for it, and that is Jessica Simpson Fancy Love. The one, I think it comes in a white bottle with gold writing on it. That it smells almost identical to the original Burberry. Every time I talk about the original Burberry, somebody comments and says, yeah, Jessica Simpson Fancy Love smells just like it, and it definitely does. So that is a really affordable fragrance, and I think I prefer Fancy Love over the new formulation of Burberry. Okay, the next one is Gucci Flora. So I actually had the La Rive dupe for Gucci Flora, and it was called Madame Love. It was a very good dupe, smelled almost identical to it. I also found that apparently Maison Alhambra makes a dupe for it, and it's called Florence. Yeah, it's called Florence. So I really want to pick that one up because I love Gucci Flora, and that one got really good ratings on Fragrantica, which you kind of have to take with a pinch of salt because Fragrantica reviews can really go either way. When I was looking through some of these, some of the ones that I didn't know of an alternative off the top of my head, and I had to go to Fragrantica to look. Some of them I was just like, holy cow, no, like that doesn't smell like it at all. Okay, Philosophy Falling in Love. So unfortunately the dupe that I have for that one is pretty expensive. And again, with this one, you can buy the new formulation. It definitely is still in production. It's just not as great as the old one used to be. But Trish McEvoy, I think it's called Blackberry and Musk or Blackberry Vanilla Musk or something like that, similar to Falling in Love. Also, there's a Shakira fragrance that is supposed to smell like it. I think it's called Shakira or S Floral or something like that, Shakira S Floral, which I'm definitely going to check out. I'm going to see if I can find that one because I would love another fragrance that smells like falling in love. And then apparently there's actually another Philosophy fragrance called Unconditional Love that is supposed to smell like it. So that's another one that I think I'm going to look for. I really want to look for the Shakira one though. And then also I have a big like travel spray of the Comptoir Sud Pacifique Blackberry Vanille fragrance, and it's actually quite similar to Falling in Love. So, and that one's really affordable and really good quality. Last time I wore the Blackberry Vanille fragrance, it lasted forever. I smelled like that for probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours. It was way better performing than I had expected it to be. Okay, Manifesto L'Elixir. So I already have a dupe in my collection for that, which is the Armaf Caterina Light Blue fragrance. Now, I did have to let it sit for years. It had to age for like a good 3 years before it got to be like really good, but it's really good now. And it is definitely a dupe of L'Elixir. Guerlain Queer Beluga. Again, you can still buy that fragrance. It's just been repackaged, possibly reformulated. I don't know for sure, but possibly reformulated, and they raised the price by over $100. It used to be $260 a bottle. It is now $365 a bottle, I think. So Reminiscence, I remember, I think I have a sample of Reminiscence Vanille, and it's similar. I wouldn't say it's like a perfect one-for-one dupe, but it's definitely similar to Queer Beluga. And then also this one I didn't know about, but apparently there's a fragrance from Nobile 1942, and it is called Cafe Chantant, which Nobile 1942 is niche. It's a little bit expensive, but not as expensive as the Guerlain. So still, you're probably gonna still end up paying like half for the Nobile 1942 fragrance as you would the Guerlain one. I really want to find a sample of that now, the Nobile 1942, because I would love to know if it is a good dupe. Neroli Ultra Noir from Guerlain, I could not find a dupe for. People do have some dupes listed for it on Fragrantica, but I don't trust any of them. I've never smelled anything quite like Neroli Ultra Noir, and I would hate to like lead anybody astray by saying, oh yeah, this smells like it, and it really doesn't. Oscar Lavender, so that's another fragrance that I've never smelled anything else quite like Oscar Lavender. However, I was confident that there's an indie house out there that has something that smells like it. And the only fragrance that I'm comfortable telling you guys is a Kais fragrance, and it's called Kais Frolino Lavanda. Kais Frolino Lavanda. Now, I have not smelled it, but because it is an indie house, I feel pretty confident that it's probably close. A lot of people on Fragrantica agreed and said that it was a good alternative. So with that one, I'm not going to say it's a dupe. I'm going to say it's probably a good alternative because I haven't smelled it yet. But I am quite sure that there are indie houses out there. Probably, I would imagine like Cocoa Pink, maybe House of Glory, maybe even Solstice Scents that makes a fragrance that smells like Oscar Lavender. I am gonna go on the hunt for a lavender and vanilla scent from an indie house because I'm gonna find a dupe for it. Like, I'm determined. Okay, Versace Crystal Noir. Apparently there is a fragrance from Montana, which is a funny little house that I've come across here and there, but it's called Montana So Montana, and it gets like a lot of upvotes. I haven't smelled that one, but it gets a lot of upvotes of people saying it smells like Crystal Noir. And then also Maison Alhambra also makes a dupe of that one, and it is called Versace Noir. So it's like definitely not even trying to hide that it's a dupe of Crystal Noir. And I've had pretty good luck with Maison Alhambra scents. So they're not usually like one-for-one dupes, but they're usually like very, very similar. Guerlain Mon Exclusive, which is basically a really, really sweet, decadent version of Mon Guerlain. Somebody told me that Mon Guerlain Intense is very, very similar. I haven't smelled the Intense formulation, but I would imagine that that's probably your best bet. Dune, Christian Dior Dune, the original formulation. So I've never smelled anything quite like Dune. People on Fragrantica say that the Penhaligon's Love Potion 9 or LP9, which I think is Love Potion 9, people say that that smells like it. That's the fragrance that gets the most upvotes from people. So I've never smelled anything quite like Dune, but I wouldn't doubt it if that Penhaligon's is similar. Dior Dolce Vita, so hands down, most people said Serge Lutens Feminine Dubois. I do have a sample of Feminine Dubois, so I'm gonna have to pull it out and I will, I'll test it next to Dolce Vita. I actually don't wear Dolce Vita enough to really be able to give you a good alternative for it because I just don't. I keep that I keep that perfume mostly for the bottle and just for the Dior collector in me than really to wear. So yeah, that one I just had to rely on Fragrantica for. Fresh Memoirs of a Geisha. So This is another one. I've never really smelled anything quite like Memoirs of a Geisha. Fresh fragrances in general are pretty unique smelling, but this is another one. People said that Tiffany, just the original Tiffany perfume, smells like it, and I feel like I have a sample, a carded sample of Tiffany. So I will have to, and I feel like I remember it smelling like kind of similar, but I don't remember enough to be definitive. And then also Juicy Couture Oh So Orange. I have not smelled that one myself either, but I know that that's like a super affordable scent. So that was a hard one for me because I've never smelled anything else quite like Memoirs of a Geisha. It came out such a long time ago, and Fresh is such a kind of niche little house. That one was hard for me. Okay, Mugler Womanity Eau Pour Els. The only one that I felt comfortable putting down here is a fragrance from Karl Lagerfeld, and it is Karl Lagerfeld Tokyo Shibuya. That one got the most like upvotes on Fragrantica. You guys can see I had to rely on Fragrantica a lot for these ones because a lot of these I've never really smelled anything else quite like them. I've never really smelled anything else quite like Womanity Pour Els except for the original Womanity, which also is a very, very unique fragrance. It's like a strawberry, like a salty strawberry fig fragrance, which is just, it's kind of strange. But anyways, that one looked the best. If I had to make a decision, if I had to like purchase something, that's the one that I would purchase. Plus Karl Lagerfeld fragrances are quite affordable. So, okay, at Lancome L'Avance Trianon, I would just go for the Dior dupe of it. If you could ever find it. I know the Dior dupe of it has been out of stock for ages, but if you can ever catch it in stock, that's what I would go for. I've never smelled anything else quite like L'Avance Trianon either, but I can tell you that the Dior clone of it is spot on, 100%, basically same thing. I've sprayed, I've got a decant of the Dior dupe and I sprayed it on one hand and I sprayed L'Avance Trianon on the other hand, and I could not tell a difference. And I was super amazed by that because I didn't think that that was a fragrance that could be cloned. Not like that. Not so well. Okay, Burberry Brit Red. Now, I've never smelled anything else quite like Burberry Brit Red. However, people say that the Miss 60 fragrance smells like it. And now I am determined to get a bottle of Miss 60. I didn't even know Miss 60 had a perfume. And Miss 60 has kind of fallen by the wayside now. I don't even know if they still exist. Miss 60 was a very like 2000s brand. In fact, I have a pair of Miss 60 boots that I paid $350 for in like 2007. So they're super old, but I will never get rid of them because they are absolutely stunning. They're pretty timeless too. And yeah, but that just shows you like Miss 60, it wasn't like super expensive, but it was definitely like pricey for what it was. But anyways, I'm getting off track here. They had a perfume called Miss 60 and it is supposed to smell like Burberry Brit Red. So I feel obligated now to find a bottle of it. I did look very quickly to see like if I could still find a bottle if it was out there, and it is. You can find bottles on eBay for they're pretty affordable. Okay, next we have Burberry The Beat. So there were two Cora's fragrances that people said smelled just like it, and one was like Cora's Pink Pepper, Tangerine, and Bellflower, and then the other one was just Bellflower. So I'm guessing, I think that the one that's just called Bellflower is like an updated version of the Tangerine, Pink Pepper, and Bellflower one. But either way, both of them are supposed to be very, very similar to the Beats. Jennifer Lopez Glowing. That was a hard one for me because I was like, dude, I've never smelled another fragrance quite like Glowing. It's a really, really unique fragrance, which is strange for being a celebrity fragrance because they usually don't make like super unique fragrances, but Glowing is super unique. Like, even when I'm talking about that fragrance, I have a hard time even describing it or even telling you guys what it smells like because it's a strange little fragrance. But apparently Erin Water Lily Sun smells like Glowing. I don't know. I haven't smelled Water Lily Sun and I just don't know because, again, I've never smelled anything quite like Glowing, but it got the most upvotes. So I'm going to say that one. Jean Paul Gaultier Gaultier 2, Ted Lapidus makes a fragrance called Altamir, and I have a decant of Altamir. I have tested it next to Gaultier 2, and they are, I mean, you almost can't tell a difference at all. Altamir smells like exactly like Gaultier 2. Gaultier 2 has been reformulated and re-released. Most people agree that it still smells really, really good, but most people say it does not smell like the original one. I mean, which is fine because they say it's still really, really nice. So, Guerlain Samsara. I thought that was going to be very difficult. I was like, I've never smelled anything quite like Samsara. I just don't think I'm going to find anything. However, Fragrantica did not do me wrong because apparently there is an Aramis fragrance called Tuscany Perdana. So Aramis Tuscany Perdana, and people say it smells just like Samsara. It's funny because I thought that Tuscany Perdana was like, I thought it was like an Elizabeth Arden or Estee Lauder or I can't remember, but I could have sworn that Tuscany Perdana was a different fragrance. You guys will have to let me know, but I could have sworn that Tuscany Perdana belonged to somebody else. But anyways, apparently it's an Aramis fragrance. And I did quickly look to see if you could still find bottles of it, and you definitely can on eBay, and it is very, very affordable. So if there are any of you out there that want a fragrance that smells like Samsara, like the Samsara in the red bottle, that one is supposed to smell just like it. So that's one that I think I'm gonna see if I can pick up maybe a mini of it or something so that I can just test it next to it. And then last but not least, Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Cologne. I believe it's an EDT formulation. So apparently Lattafa makes a fragrance called Art of Arabia. And I've never smelled anything quite like Guerlain L'Homme Ideal, so I had to rely heavily on Fragrantica for this one. And they say that this Lattafa Art of Arabia apparently smells very similar. And then also the fragrance that got the most upvotes, that it looks like it's kind of, it looks like most people think that it for sure smells like it, is a fragrance from Vivant, and it's Vivant L'Homme Cologne. So I've never smelled that, never even heard of that one, but that's the one that got the most upvotes. But apparently Lattafa Art of Arabia, which I believe is a men's fragrance, smells like it as well. But anyways, you guys, those are all of the fragrances from my second part of my unicorns video and alternatives, or fragrances that you should be able to get relatively easily that could be alternatives for those fragrances. I do hope that you all enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.